What's up? What's up, people? Good to see you here. Welcome, welcome, welcome for the first edition of Game Design 909. So, let's see who's here. Pranav, Masterability, Rahil, Gain, Dan Deep, Vivek, Rohit, Soni, Karthik. How you guys doing? Good to see you here. Good to see you at 9:09. It's going to be awesome. Today is the day something new starts. Yes. So, what are we doing here? What is this podcast all about? This podcast, this live Game Design 909 is all about game design because in India, particularly, everybody's like, oh, game designing, right? Like a lot of people don't understand what game design is fundamentally. They don't even know that there are game design roles in India. They don't understand what game designers do, you know. So this podcast, this live is all about game designers, right? I am a game designer and I'd really love to raise awareness about game design in India and bring the game designers in the game industry and not just in India. Hopefully we'll get people from abroad. So bring them on, share the stage with them, and let them talk about themselves. We'll be talking about games. We'll be talking, obviously, about game design. We'll be talking about stuff outside of games that inspires us. And we'll be telling war stories from our game career. So it's going to be awesome. And without further ado, I'm going to invite a very, very good friend of mine a little bit about Shagun. So Shagun is a friend of mine. I know him from IGTC. He and I are on the India Game Development Conference. We organized the conference. I've been doing the careers track, and Shagun has actually been doing the design track for several years. So he's a curator for the design track, and I will let him talk about himself.
Oh,
Hello. Shagun, how are you doing?
I'm good, Rahul. Thanks for having me here. It's great to be here. Great to see so many people in the chat also. How's it going, folks?
Yes, awesome to have you here. So, without further ado, tell us about yourself. Shagun, tell us about where you live, what you've done, where you studied.
I think the chat is a little lag. Right. So I grew up in Mumbai, born and raised. I studied over here. In fact, I think everything I studied has no relation to video games and what I do today. But somehow I've been making games for like 8 years at this point in time. But when so I studied in a place called HR College in Mumbai. I did a very standard bachelor's in commerce and moved into
Commerce,
journalism
okay.
from the commerce.
Right, so
Yeah, yeah.
you went from
Hmm.
commerce to game design. Interesting, because a lot of people say, I'm doing commerce, I'm doing this, blast, can I be a game designer? I'm like, yeah, totally. I used to be in the merchant navy and I'm a game
Yeah.
designer. Sorry,
Hmm.
I digress.
No. So I always wanted to be in video games, and so from commerce I moved into journalism, and from journalism, so that was also in Mumbai. That was at Mumbai University, and from there I actually went and did a master's in behavioral economics and social psych and a bunch of other things at the London School of Economics. None of it relates to games. I should have
That
worked in the
is
government.
crazy, man. You went
Yeah,
to the London School of Economics and you're a game designer. That is
yeah,
insane.
yeah. You know, so yeah, that and then from there I came back home and oh, my GP in commerce was pretty average, man. I think I got like something like someone in the chat just asked me 88% or something. It was
But
no
how
90s to me. Yeah.
but like, so how come commerce, like, or did you not know you wanted to make? So when did you say, okay, man, I want to make video games? So what was that point where you decided that, okay, it's going to be video games as a career?
So Rahul, I'm actually one of those kids who's always wanted to make video games. When I was very young, I think about 7 or 8, my dad got a computer in his office, and I used to go there once in a while after school, and I used to sort of hang out there just to play video games.
Hmm.
And then I think it became so disruptive to his work that he was like, "Listen, I'm just going to move this computer home." And he also liked a couple of games, so he found something called Need for Speed, and
Ah,
it's a very small indie title, but I was terrible at it, and I used to get my friends in the building to come and play Need for Speed. They all wanted to, and then they would win the races, and then I would extract my toll, my game fee for letting them play by putting my name in the scoreboard. So I
nice.
learned delegation at an early age. Um,
Nice.
but yeah, it was stuff like that, and actually a bunch of edutainment games by Knowledge Adventure, which later became Jumpstart,
Ah.
which got me hooked on to at least point and click games and stuff like that. So and
So,
then
so, and
somewhere,
so
yeah,
at
go
what
on.
point? So at what
Hmm.
point did you decide to make the switch from okay, so okay, I'm making games for a living like
Hmm.
what
Hmm.
triggered that and what point did that happen?
So very seriously, it's something I wanted to do as a kid. I played Command and Conquer, and I was like, I love what this is. Um, and so I started learning to code, and this
Hmm.
was back in the day, so it was just C++, which I was pretty awful at, but it took a couple of years for me to do that. And around 2010, so I was sort of making my way through college. I had spoken to a bunch of career counselors. We used to have these career fairs in college and a bunch of things. And I used to tell them I want to make video games, and they would say, "Don't do this." Right? They were like, "This is a joke. Don't do this. You're not going to make any money." Um, and so I I had no clue about India games at that point in time. I sort of knew they existed. I had no idea how to get in. So I just kept learning to code, and then around
So this is while you were
2011,
still in London School
yeah.
of Economics. This is while
Oh
you were
no,
still
no,
there.
this was when I was in college in my bachelor's.
Ah, okay.
So I was making small apps. I had made a couple of things just for myself, Space Invaders and a bunch of things. I actually have a fun Space Invader story for you if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Go
Um,
for it.
so when I was in college, there was this girl I really liked. I thought she was super cute,
Ooh.
and I was like, I'm going to try to impress her somehow. And so I had this little Space Invader prototypes that I started working on. I said, I'm going to make 20 levels of this game. And at the end, being very full of myself, I thought that when the game over screen plays, it's going to be a little message that asks her out. And so I gave her the game. I had a laptop. I said, "Can you play this game? I made something cool." And then she started dying at level 3 because I hadn't tuned the
Dude,
game at all.
that should have been a 3 level game. That should have been a three
Uh,
level game.
I got I got caught up in the journey of making the game. So she never saw the message, and I was like, "Hey, but I built my first game. That was my first portfolio piece."
So
Um,
did you get a
yeah,
date
yeah.
with her ultimately?
Oh no, no, absolutely not. I was a chicken.
Oh,
So no, no, not at all, not at all.
that's an
But
amazing story. that is
I,
that
I
is an
think I have the
amazing
bill
story,
somewhere.
man.
Yeah, yeah,
That is
yeah.
an amazing story, man. So tell us how you learned game design.
Hmm.
Like, what was your
Okay,
process? Because I personally, I went to game school, right? I'm like, okay,
right.
I'm this merchant navy officer, and so I'm just gonna pay a bunch of money to somebody, and then in a year, I was a game designer, right? I was taught everything at game school. So how about you?
Yeah.
What was your process of learning?
Okay. So I started coding early, and then I started reading a lot of books. I'm a reader more than a video watcher. So I picked up Challenges for Game Designers by Brenda Brenwade. I picked Zimmerman's Game Design Reader. I picked up Ernest Adams. Um, at that point in time, I also thought of games as media as opposed to tech. So I
Hmm.
started reading a lot of media theory around games. But a lot of my knowledge just came through video games, through playing games, through deconstructing them badly, and through what's the word for it? Reading books about design. And then I started reading more about interaction design, Robert Fabricant, and a bunch of other people more in recent times. But yeah, that's kind of, and I started learning Excel.
Ah.
So I came to this when from a product mindset about okay, how are products built, how are products packaged, how are they sold, things like that, and systems. It was all of it was systems and maths. That's sort of where, as I've been realized that games are all about numbers. Numbers create feelings. I started learning that, and I'm good at math. So
Right. I mean, you're
I
one. I
came to
mean, I'm
think,
super jealous.
okay,
The one thing I'm super jealous is that you are a game designer and you are also a very good artist, and you
oh
also know how to code. So Shagun, guys,
yeah,
is one of those. Like, if you, my thing is, I'm a designer and I can also do some art. Like, I'm also art director. So my thing is design and art, but coding isn't my thing. There are some people who are the Jedi of the game industry who can do all three. Like, they can
that's
write code, they can do art, and they can design. So Shagun actually happens to be one of those few. Yep,
oh
yep.
no, thanks, man.
All right. So all
Um,
right. So
yeah.
okay. So you were talking about how you learned game design.
hmm right. And so one of the things I did alongside my BCom was I went to an animation course. So Xavier's in Bombay
Mm-hmm.
had this program where they taught you 3D animation. They just taught you Maya and a bit of Photoshop, but they taught you the whole stack of like modeling, from modeling to rigging to texturing to actually animating
Mm-hmm.
something. So that
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a great way to make games, or not knowing much again at the time. So I learned that skill. Got a
Mm-hmm.
bit of work in animation, which also helped me later along my career. Once I went to LSE, though, I started researching video games as media artifacts. So I wrote a couple of like papers wrote a couple of papers about it. I gave a talk at Oxford. My thesis got published. I was researching player motivations in multiplayer spaces. So from an economics perspective. So yeah, I was,
Wow. So
and
so
that got me my
you
first job.
actually had a paper on games in the
Oh
London
yeah,
School of
yeah,
Economics. That
yes,
is
yes, yes,
amazing. I
yes.
would I would love to actually
It's
have a look at that sometime. That must be fascinating.
yeah. I basically just wrote about World of Warcraft and Second Life and Eve Online. I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you. It's there online. You can read it. You can read it on academia.edu. But I'll send you one after this.
Definitely, definitely. Do send it to
Yeah,
me. I'm
yeah.
gonna have a look at it. All right. So
Mm-hmm.
so tell us about your first game. Like I mean, okay, the one Space Invaders with the girl,
Yeah,
your
yeah,
first
yeah.
game, but your first proper game.
So, the first job I got when I moved back to India was with a burgeoning startup called Photon Tadpole, which is
Ah,
actually doing really well. So shout out to them right now if any of them are watching this. So that was my first break in the games industry in India. I had a couple of consulting gigs when I was still in the UK. So I worked a very little on Total War Warhammer 1. I did a little bit of work with the Google Creative Lab, but those were all consulting pieces. But my first game was actually at Photon Tadpole, where we were making pretend play games for children.
okay.
So I was sitting in front of Unity building sandbox games essentially, like little for kids, for like 5-year-olds.
Right,
But yeah,
right.
yeah, that was my
Fantastic.
first.
And then after Photon Tadpole, where did you go? What did you do?
So I did about 10 games with Photon Tadpole. There's actually one that you may have heard of. It was called Bollywood Fighter. It got nominated IGF a
Yes,
couple
yes,
of years
I
ago, back
remember
in
that one.
17.
I
So
do.
so I designed that. Yeah. I don't know what happened to it after that, but I had worked on it. And after that, I actually decided I wanted to move corporate. So I went to Zynga, where I was for about a year. Yeah. And then from
The
Zynga, I
Evil
went to
Empire. You joined the
no,
Evil
no,
Empire
it's a
of
nice
free to
place.
play. No,
There's
free
nothing
to
wrong with
play,
free
right?
to play.
No, I know. I
I
jest.
know, I know.
I jest. But free to play is kind of
Yeah,
scary for game designers. Like, free to play is kind
yeah.
of like this place where it's all about numbers. It's so related to numbers and stats. It's scary when you look at game design from a traditional game design perspective. How was it? Like, how was it to be in free to play?
It was a huge change because, sort of building on what you said, I think a large cohort of people come into video games because they grew up playing something, there was something that touched them, and they said, I want to make that. And that's the artistic experience of playing games. It's the way you watch a great film and you want to sort of work on that, right? And the reality is that in a place like Zynga or any F2P space, you're supposed to approach it more of a product mindset as opposed to
Hmm.
an art creative mindset. Although there's a lot of applied creativity, but like you said, it's data science, it's product thinking. So it was a big shift for me. It was something that I didn't expect. But yeah. it was an interesting life experience, and I think it really helped me a lot because it helped me also understand that like there's making games for art and there's making games for a living.
Yeah, because working
And
in a
the
game
process, yeah.
studio,
Hmm.
working in a game studio, in a commercial game studio, and dealing with programmers and artists and testers and producers and product managers and like deadlines is its own experience, right?
No,
It's
100%. Yeah, yeah.
you really need that. It is something that do that for a year, and you really understand the pressures of working in a game industry, right?
Oh, 100%, 100%.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So and after Zynga, you went to Byju's, yeah?
I did. And that was a whole new adventure because I went back into indie at scale, to be honest. I was working on the Disney Byju's Early Learn app, which was an interesting life experience. I came in towards the end, towards its launch phase. So we were honing a bunch of things, polishing up, working with a huge IP, which was Disney. So that was more production than design because we were making games at scale. And then from there I was working on the Osmo boxes for Byju's, which was a lot of toy design, which was again a very premium product. So it was a really
Nice.
cool experience because then I was owning the box. I was building everything from scratch. I built that first prototype. I built the physical toys. We worked with some really revolutionary technology, which I probably can't talk about. So yeah, it was a really interesting life experience, from
Awesome.
indie to
So
corporate
some
to
people are
indie
asking
again.
about gaming in Byju.
Hmm.
So Byju's actually has a game
Yeah, yeah.
studio, and they actually work on games that teach.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
Byju's is actually really kind of like hoovering up a lot of talent from the game industry in India right now. They're a billion-dollar company. They're buying companies left, right, and center.
Multi-billion. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're multi-billion-dollar company, and they're actually one of the biggest employers in the game industry in India.
Hmm.
So if you're in the game industry, guys, like if you're doing game design, you are not just going to get opportunities to work on games. You're going to get opportunities to work in the education sector, because education is gamified now. And if you understand
Oh yeah.
if you understand game design, you're going to be understanding that as well. So the opportunities right now, especially for game designers, are absolutely insane. Right. Now I want to ask you about the games that you like to play.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Calm
Let's
down,
let's do
but
it.
go on.
Uh,
Yeah.
what do I like to play right now?
Yeah, like
Uh,
what kind of player are you? Like what's your game? Like what do you like to play?
Once upon a time, I was an explorer. I used to play World of Warcraft. I played it. I think it consumed 15 years of my life. I was a big MMO guy, big on the social experience and having great quests and adventures. I think now I'm more of a strategy and tactics guy. That's sort of been at the core of what I sort of, it's my ethos of how I look at design. It's the kind of work I want to do. So yeah, I still go back and play like Command and Conquer once in a while, except for Command and Conquer 4, which is not a real game. And yeah, no, we don't speak of it. I play Generals, I play my Tiberian Wars, I play my Tiberian Sun. I play Valorant. I play Valorant a lot now. It's a game I didn't expect to play, but it's fantastic. It's fun. It's the weirdest
It's the
League of
game that
Legends.
it's the game that got you. Like is it like for my guilty pleasure
Mm-hmm.
is poker, right?
Oh yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like so it's a game that I never expected to like, but I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually loving this. So I guess Valorant is that for you? Is it
Uh,
your
I mean, it's something I play very consistently, so I'm a high retention user.
nice?
But actually, more than video games these days, I actually play a lot of board games.
Oh,
I started investing in a lot of board games at one point, mostly in the lockdown. A bunch of my friends also did it, and we had a little bubble. So we would. By the way, Sova's the best character, not Chamber. Anyway, we would we all just pulled in, bought a bunch of board games, and so we played a lot of miniature based war games.
mm-hmm.
We play a lot of like casual games. Currently, the one game that I've been playing, I think every day with like my little group because we're all neighbors, is a very wild game called Slingshot, a long shot,
Long shot. Uh-huh.
which is about horse racing. We can't afford to
Uh-huh.
actually go to the derby, so we bet fake money on
Right.
a little board yeah. That's like 10 paces long. It's a lot of fun. But board
Nice.
games are where I spend a lot
Board
of my
games are
time now.
amazing. Like
Yeah,
when I used to be
it's
teaching at
fantastic.
college, when I used to be teaching at college, I used to look forward to the days
Yeah,
where
yeah.
like there was low attendance. So my rule
Mm-hmm.
was that if it's less than 15% attendance, that day we're going to play board games. Classes cancelled. So and I had like bullied the school into buying a bunch of board games, and whenever
Yeah,
attendance was less, I would just pull out Risk or Carcassonne, and like
yeah, yeah.
everyone would have so much fun that day. It's amazing. So you guys, if you want to be a game designer, right,
Mm-hmm.
play board games. And the next thing I want to ask you, apart from games, like you're a game designer,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but however, so what is the stuff that you like to do apart from playing video games? That because
Oh, that's
it's a creative loop, right? It's a creative loop. It's like
yeah, yeah,
if you
yeah,
just play video games, all your creative input is going to come from video games. However, if you do other stuff, you're going to have a lot more creative input as a designer, especially for a game designer.
yeah.
You need to do a lot of stuff, so tell us
Oh,
about
yeah.
what it is that you do apart from playing video games.
So actually, I try to stay off the computer as much as possible. Uh, Somewhere down the line, I realized that like my eyes hurt and I just don't like thinking about video games all the time. So I spend my free time. I budget how much time I spend on a screen, and the rest of my time I actually like so I play my music. I'm a big I love metal. I play my guitar. I do a lot with animals actually. Like I take care of a bunch of cats and dogs and just take do donation drives and adoption drives for that. But in terms of the media I consume, the things I do that are sort of games adjacent, I read a lot. I just read a lot. I read a lot of fantasy. I read a lot of history. I'm a really big history buff when it comes to the history of India, especially contemporary, like the last 200 years. So
Hmm.
it's I go on history walks, things like that to sort of just build my perspective about the world, to sort of think about problems, how they were solved, and sort of how systems are created. Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. All right. So now we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
have. So tell us about your two things. Like, firstly,
Mm-hmm.
one thing that happened in your career as a game designer, which was like a
Mm-hmm.
really big learning experience. Like sometimes some things happen, which might be a bit unpredictable, and it teaches you a lot. So what
Oh
was that
yeah.
one big learning experience as a game designer for you in your career?
Um, so for me, the big learning experience was actually when I was at Byju's, because we were working on games from scratch, but we had big budgets. We had to deliver games at a certain quality in the premium space, and we had multiple stakeholders with very different identities and personas essentially in the mix. And a lot of that is just learning how to think on a product level, think on a product strategy level, um, and I feel like that's and just dealing with people. That's the big lesson, right? I mean, games are collaborative. You have to. It's not just one person at the top making things happen, and it's just how do you convince everyone to buy into your idea? How do you get data to validate it? Sometimes where is the line between gut feeling and numbers? So yeah, it's all those big lessons. And it's how do you deal with people and convince them to do what you want, and also how to
Right.
make PPTs in like 5 minutes. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes it's weirdly enough that you walk into a room and you're like, I'm gonna
hmm.
convince you people, and then you really listen to people, right? And then
Oh
you
yeah,
walk out,
yeah,
and then you walk out convinced. I'm like, wait a minute. And you as a designer, if you let go of
yeah,
that, I know everything and I'm the boss, I'm the lead designer, and you
yeah,
actually
yeah.
listen to people, what happens at the end is that the thing that comes together in the end is amazing.
Hmm.
And you think, okay, I'm so glad I did not hang on to that idea of mine, because what just happened was amazing. The thing that comes out the end. So that collaborativeness is great, but it's not. It's like a two-way thing for a designer, which is amazing. I think. No.
Sort of building on that very quickly, I think something that from this, what really came out to me is how, as a designer, you learn to question yourself, question your biases,
Hmm.
and build a framework for asking yourself good questions. And as soon as you can do that, you will also be able to hopefully appreciate where somebody else is coming from, because no one is weighing in on a product for it to fail, right? They all want it to succeed, and maybe everyone wants it to succeed in a different way, but that ability to question your biases, to break down, say, okay, maybe I'm wrong over here. Maybe this is my way is not the
Yep.
right way for the better health thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an important
That's it's
lesson
a
to have.
humbling experience. It's a humbling experience. Also,
100%.
guys, by the way, guys, so a news flash. For those of you who don't know, I'm actually having a game design boot camp. The game design boot camp is starting tomorrow, 9:09. So 9:09 is a thing with me, right? And guess what? Shagun is actually going to be doing a workshop for you guys in there. So if you're interested in game design, he's going to be putting all his experience to actually creating a mini game design experience
It's
for
a
you
challenge.
guys,
Yeah.
a little game design challenge. He's going to be doing a little bit of teaching, and you guys are actually going to be able to submit that stuff, work on it for a day, and submit it for the next day. And there is a pretty amazing prize for whoever wins that challenge. Okay, so make sure that you guys are signed up for the game design bootcamp. In fact, I will actually put it in the chat here so that you guys can sign up. It's tomorrow. It's starting tomorrow. And Shagun is going to be there in that. So just a reminder.
So
All right.
hope you have
All
fun.
right, guys.
Yeah.
So now, okay, also I got to ask you this. So tell me about a mistake you made. Tell me about a boo-boo you did as game designer.
So many of them. So many of them. I think I've just stumbled
One
ass
big one.
backwards into everything. I think there was this point in time when I slaved over a bunch of levels for a thing, and I forgot to actually put them in the commit, and I just pushed a blunt, like an empty commit up, and it was an interesting life experience over there. Um, but but yeah, sometimes you're just like you're. I think if you get too invested in something and you stop working in default mode, these mistakes happen. That was one of those for me. It was a big eye opener that okay, you can't just get focused on the process. You also have to think about again how you fit into the team and into the pipeline. So that was a big boo boo. It's not a
All right.
funny one, but it is an honest one.
That's okay.
Yeah,
Boopers will have to be funny. All right, guys. So now
yeah,
we are going to conclude with
yeah.
something I call the seven sizzling questions. So I'm going to be
Oh God.
putting seven sizzling questions to him, and these are going to be rapid fire questions, and they're going to be controversial, and they're going to set the internet on fire,
Oh
Shagin.
God.
So everybody sit down, get a chair, and we will now start with the seven sizzling questions. Okay, so
Okay, let's do this.
first sizzling question.
Do I get a hamper at the end?
Yes, yes, you do.
Oh, okay, okay. I want to.
Yes, the contents debatable.
Let's
Okay,
go. Let's
so
go. Yeah.
favorite game designer.
I'm gonna say my favorite game designer is a gentleman called Brett Sperry. You won't have heard
Okay.
of him. He made Command and Conquer. Yeah.
Okay, makes
Yes.
sense. All right,
Yes. Yes.
the video game that you have played with absolutely the best story and narrative. Best story and narrative for a video game.
This is a tough one. I'm going to say God of War 4. It has an
Ah,
absolutely like unexpected narrative. I did not think it would be that good.
all right, that's
There's
a
so
good
many
one.
of them.
All right, okay. Next, tell us about your favorite fictional universe. Now, this does not have to be a video game universe. Your
Warhammer
favorite.
40,000. Warhammer 40,000. That's me. I'm a law nerd.
All right, okay. Warhammer 40,000. All
Yeah.
right. Okay, now tell us about the game you would like to be good at, but you suck at.
Elden Ring.
Okay, all right, all
Elden
right,
Ring. My friends have helped me through the entire thing, and I cheese all the fights I can't get friends for.
all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next up, the most overrated game
Oh God.
ever.
Oh God. I'm going to say Assassin's Creed 1.
Oh, ooh, ouch!
Yeah.
Lot of
I'm not
bugs
going to
there.
justify that, but yep.
Okay, the first one, huh?
Oh
Okay,
yeah, the
all right,
first one.
all
The
right,
others had some merit, but that first one, nope. Overrated.
all right. Fair enough. Yeah,
Oh,
to be honest, I played the first one and I didn't play
yeah.
anymore, so maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe that has something to do with it. Uh, all right, okay. Last one,
Yeah.
and this
All
is
right.
gonna be a good one. So, if you had $1 million, if you
Yeah.
had $1 million and you had to invest in a game, in an Indian game studio, and no, it can't be your own studio,
Oh,
which
damn. Okay.
it can't be your studio. All right. So if you had a million
Yeah.
dollars
Yeah.
to invest in an Indian game studio, which one would it be?
Roach Interactive.
Oh, you are such a sweetheart. Thank you.
Roach
All right.
Interactive, man. Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. And I really like to believe that there was a sincere answer. And I will
I
take you up
meant
on that
it.
offer. When you have $1 million,
Yeah.
I'm going to be like, all right, dude, I have a recording
Uh,
of you saying this. All right.
oh no. Okay. Yes. Yes. All right.
All right. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, little birdie tells me
Mm-hmm.
that you're doing something these days.
Oh. Oh
You
yeah.
want to
No.
talk a little bit about that?
Not yet, but in a couple of months, I'll have something fun to share with everyone.
Okay.
It's a little thing I've been working on for about a year now, so we'll see where it goes. But
Yep,
it's
yep.
all
All
come
right. So
together
watch this
nicely,
space,
and
guys.
hopefully,
Do follow. So what I'm going to do is in the description of this video, I will put Shagun's LinkedIn profile as well.
yeah, please.
Oh, also, guys, Shagun is actually going to be a mentor for the Gamer to Make a Game Design course, right? The next
Right.
batch, which is launching, the admissions that are going on right now, guys. So Shagun is actually going to be working in Gamer to Make. He's going to be working with us as a game design mentor, and it's going to be awesome. So
Yeah,
announcement, right? Okay. All right,
excited for
guys.
it.
So I'm going to take one question from the audience. I'm going to say one question from the audience. Maybe you can, if there's a question you want to ask of him, do let me know. Yes. Hang on. There is a question. Master. Somebody's asking about masters in game design. Okay. So Suryan Singh asks, is doing a masters in game design field worth it? Like from UK or Germany? Your thoughts on that, Shagun?
Um, Honestly, I mean, no. If you have the money and you want to work in the UK or you want to work in Germany, then yeah, please do it. But the knowledge is all available online now. There's Gamer to Maker right here, but there's also books that you can get. The cost to get into games has never been lower. Unity is free, Unreal is free. It's easy, to get in now. You don't need to do a master's in it.
Yeah.
And
And
that's just my take.
my
Yeah.
my personal answer to this is like a degree is not going to get you a game job,
No,
right? A
no,
degree
it's
is
not.
the only reason a degree would actually help you is you would actually get a work permit for that country. So in
Yeah.
that way, a master's may help you, but you could be a PhD in game design and you wouldn't get a job as an intern at an indie company because you don't have a good portfolio. You don't actually know the work. So it's not about your education, it's about your work, it's about your portfolio, it's about what you know, it's about the games you've made. So a degree or a master's or BSc, MSc, PhD, whatever, is completely meaningless when it comes to your employability, right? And we'll be talking about that in the boot camp soon. So if
Mhm.
you guys sign up for that, it's going to be awesome. All right, so I guess that was one question. And sorry. Okay, somebody's asking indie or AAA. We got to answer that, right? Like this is a hot question because everybody's
Yeah.
like, I want to work in AAA games, man. I want to go to America and I want to work with AAA games. So this whole indie versus AAA, what do you have to say about that?
I think if you say AAA translates to studio experience, I would say even Zynga is actually a AAA studio. So is EA,
Yeah.
right? They're making games at a certain scale, at a certain budget. I will tell everyone who wants to get in the industry, please get a job in a studio first. Learn the processes. Learn how to get over your biases. Learn how to work with people. Uh, Once you have money, once you've understood the core things about what make a game sell and how to go from prototype to actually launching the game, then go indie if you want to go indie, but never go indie at the start of your career. That's my big thing.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Very valid point. All right, guys, that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty much it for today. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Thank you,
Thank
Shagun.
you.
That was absolutely awesome. And hopefully, we will do
Yeah.
more podcasts together. This was kind of an
Oh yes.
experiment. We'll do more podcasts, and like I said, Shagun's going to be there in Gamer to Maker. The two of us are going to be your mentors for people who are going to be in the Gamer to Maker course. So that's going to be really something to look forward to. So thank you so much, Shagun, for taking out for time today to talk to all of us. It was absolutely awesome. And I will see you guys, and I will see Shagun in the boot camp, which is starting
Tomorrow.
tomorrow. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a
Thanks
good night.
everyone. Thanks for having me, Rahul. Yep. Have a good night,
Let's
everyone.
go.
See you.